right, so the first step in today's cook is going to be to take these whole spare ribs and trim them down competition style, which is basically a St. Louis cut, but just a little bit more defined and maybe slightly smaller than what you would have in a normal St. Louis cut. And of course, making sure that it's got clean edges and going to be pretty for the judges. So I'm going to bring you a little bit closer and I'm going to show you how I take my whole spare ribs and I cut them down and trim them competition style. All right, so there's many different orders that you can do this in. Everybody's kind of got their own preference. One of the first things I like to do is go ahead and start taking off the fat on the back side of this. A lot of times you'll see chunky pieces of fat like this right here. There's no need for that fat there. It's not going to be beneficial at all. Just chunk that off. I like to go ahead and take off this piece of meat that runs right across the back. That actually makes for a pretty good pitmaster treat there as you get later in the cooking process. Take that off right there. Along these ribs right here, I want to square this end off, but before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and come in a couple bones here. 1, 2, 3, about 3 bones. You can see this end flap, and I'm going to go ahead and just take off this end section. Go ahead and get it squared off, get that there out of the way. Kind of checking things out. These bones are a little bit angled, but as you can see, as you come down, you want to find your widest bone, because what you want to do is get a squared off center right here, squared off edge of these ribs. So I come down about 1, 2, 3, 4, about 4 bones down, and that seems to be my longest bone. So I'm going to go right there. I'm going to get towards the end of that knuckle of that bone. I'm going to draw me a straight line and just take it right out to the end of those ribs. I'm going to turn this so I can use the benefit of my full chopping block. And then you're just going to come right down that, right through there. That's a whole rib tip. So that's some great cooking right there. That's got the tips of all the ribs in there. There's a lot of meat on that. As you can see, they're a lot more squared off, but I still got some things to do to it here. And here, take off all the loose fat that I see. A lot of that fat there is not going to do you any good. You don't want any slimy big pieces of fat like that. Make sure you got all these edges cleaned up as best you can. A lot of times I'll take my knife, angle it in about a 45, clean off those little pieces. So now if you look at that, get a good squared off piece of ribs right here. Next step is going to be getting off the membrane, excuse me, off the back of the ribs. I usually just take a paper towel, just go over here and I find me an edge and get started with it. Sometimes they come off really easy and sometimes they're a pain. So we'll see. Today may be I don't know if it's going to be the easy day or if it's going to be the pain day. Right there, your paper towel gives you a good grip on it. And from there you just take it and pull it. All right, so now we just got us a nice looking squared off St. Louis style rib. And then from there we're going to get our seasoning started. And we're going to be using mustard as our binder today, shaking down a Baker's Barbecue Competition rub, like I said in the opening of the video. All right, so I'm going to do the back first, or the bone side first. And the first thing I'm going to do is just put a little bit of mustard down. It's a good binder. Come back, just rub that mustard in real good. Make sure you get it where it's not pulled up in a little pool, because you want to make sure you get a good bark. And if you've got a bunch of liquid pulled up, it won't bark up on you. Then I'm just going to take my competition rub, Baker's Barbecue Competition rub, and I'm going to hit it with a good coat. This stuff has a lot of flavor to it. And it's actually coming out in the market. I'm getting the shipping in from the manufacturer this coming week. All right, so I'm gonna flip it over. Take some more mustard, put it on this side. Rub it in real good. Where you got a good binder, it's gonna help help the rub grip to the ribs. Take your shake, put on a good coat. Just like that right there. Now I'm going to let these sit for about an hour. What'll happen is this rub will start it'll start adhering to the meat and it'll start sweating it out. It almost liquefies. But that's a perfect consistency that you want, because it's going to help you really create a good bark, and it's going to help begin the process of making sure you got beautiful ribs. You do got to make sure not forget to get the edges. I got busy talking and forgot to get the edges here. So anyway, make sure you come back through here, get the edges of the ribs real good. Go down the ends, just like that. Just like that. Flip them up. All right, so now we got some competition style ribs shook down and ready to go in the smoker.